Hello again, everybody. This is Dan Clouser, and welcome back to the Journey of My Mother's Son podcast. Today, I'm joined with Tracey Escobar, who's the author of You Can Be a Medium, How a Red Couch Led Me to Mediumship and Turned My Pain into Purpose. Tracey, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, thanks for having me. Super excited.
Absolutely. I'm excited about this conversation as well. So before we get started, though, just introduce yourself to my listeners. Tell them a little bit about, who is Tracey today?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. So I'm Tracey Escobar, also known as the Red Couch Medium out there on social media. And so I am a medium. I'm based out of the Dallas, Texas area and the Charlotte, North Carolina area. So I kind of flip-flop between both places. I've been doing this kind of work for about 6 years, and I feel like it's an interesting story how it all came about. So I don't feel like I was born a medium. I kind of got led to this kind of work. And so I think it's just really an interesting story. And so I do readings all over the country, locally. So yeah, nice to meet you guys.
Cool. So tell me a little bit about, just to revisit one of the things you just said, where, you don't think you were um, born like this. It was a journey that led you to mediumship. So just expand on that a little bit more,
Yep. Yeah.
that
So
journey.
there's people out there who are naturally gifted and born this way. So they'll have a childhood experiences or whatever. And then I just feel like there's people who come to this through trauma or tragedy. And I think probably that's kind of what led me down this path. I lost my dad at 19, tragically, unexpectedly. So at 19, I had this weird connection to death, wanting to know if there's more, right? How could there not be more, especially when you have someone so close to you who passes away? And so that it kind of started that way at 19. So I became fascinated with all the TV shows that were coming out later on from like John Edward. He was doing a TV show about passing away and talking to the dead and things like that. Always fascinated me. But of course, I thought you had to be special, right? I thought this was a gift from God. And there's just, how come I couldn't have done it? All those things that you say to yourself. And then I was married at the time to a man who was raised pretty Catholic. So this kind of stuff was, no, no, don't you do that in my house kind of thing. And so I did. I didn't do anything. And nothing happened until my mid 40s when I had some life changing events happen. And I chose the self development journey. And I had a reading, and someone said, anyone can do it. And that kind of just changed my life. Yeah.
Yeah. So, this is definitely a topic where a lot of people think, hey, this is kind of like woo woo stuff that we're talking about. So what is your response to, those type of people, the naysayers, the people who don't think that this is reality?
Man, I'm with you. I am an analytical person too. And even to this day, even though I do this work, I'm super skeptical of other people who do this work. And I'm super skeptical too. And so, you know what I like about mediumship? So they lump me into a box called psychic medium. So psychic kind of comes with the mediumship, but I love the mediumship part because I can prove it, right? In a reading, it's something I can prove. And so I tell people, unless you have an experience, and I can understand that, because unless I would have had my very first experience that I went like, okay, yeah, this is some crazy stuff that's happening, you're not going to believe it. It takes an experience because we're human. So until you have an experience, I can understand why you don't. I would just say be open enough to give it a shot, give it a chance, and go to a reputable medium, because some of the information we bring through, there's just no way we would know. There's no way to Google some of this stuff. There's just no way. And so I think just having the experience will help most people.
Yeah. What was that experience that kind of,
Yeah,
led you down this path?
it was crazy. There was a certain events that happened in my life, and I found myself wanting, I was just tired of being tired, if that makes any sense, right? We wake up one day and it's like I'm on this hamster wheel of getting up, going to work, coming home, cooking, cleaning, going to bed, right? So it's this hamster wheel. And I was just so tired of being tired and just kind of fumbling through life, really having no purpose, right? And so I started a self-healing journey. I saw a psychic who said people can do this work. So I started self-healing, meditating, things like that. And I found myself at this store locally that was a metaphysical store along my journey. And I it's crazy how spirit works, because at that time I'm a single mom with teenagers and, living paycheck to paycheck. And at that specific time in my life, I had come into a little bit of money from a relative. And I booked a whole month long trip to Europe, to England, right? I know I said, I'm going to go travel, right? I'm going to take this opportunity with this little bit of money I have, and I'm going to go travel. So it's crazy. I had already booked a whole month in England. One of my best friends was an expat over there. And so I was going to stay with her for the whole month right outside of London. So I'm going to go backwards a little bit. So that was already in the works. And then started going to this metaphysical store and started taking a little bit of classes about mediumship, right? And about psychic development, just these little 1 hour classes. And someone told me, Tracey, there is this college that you should go to. It's called Arthur Findley. And it's a pretty famous spiritualist college where mediums from all over the world come and train. And I'm like, well, that sounds like right up my alley. And so I looked it up, and it was right outside of England. And there was a course going on exactly the same time I was going to be there. So I changed all my plans and I went and I signed up, and I spent a whole week at this college in England. And my very second day there, my tutor said, has anybody felt like they've never connected to spirit? And at that time, I was really questioning everything. I don't know if I can do this. Am I supposed to do this? Have I done this? I don't know what it feels like. And so I raised my hand, and she said, okay, I want you to come up. And I'm in a class with probably 19 other people. So I thought I was going to get a free reading, right? And I stand up in front of the class, and she says, I want you to close your eyes. And I was like, okay. She was like, okay, close your eyes. And she goes, there is a lady standing at the doorway. And I go, okay. She goes, I want you to tell me who she is. And I was like, oh my gosh. I started to panic. I started to sweat. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this in front of all these people. She said, calm down, just follow me. Who's the lady at the door? And said, I just took a deep breath and I trusted. And I said, okay, there's a lady at the door. And she said, well, who is that lady? I go, she's somebody's mom. And so we go through a series of questions that I'm answering. And I'm saying, okay, yeah, she likes to cook large, big meals for her family. She enjoys writing cards, like welcome cards to her family, like gift cards and things like that. And I think I am making this stuff up, right? I'm just like saying whatever comes to my brain. I'm put on the spot. I'm up here in front of all these people. And so then the tutor says, okay, I want you to open your eyes now. And I said, okay. She goes, I want you to take a look at all those people in the room. So we're set up like in a semicircle. And I start looking at everybody. And she goes, I want you to tell me who that spirit was for. I'm like, oh my Lord. I'm like, okay. So I look at every single person. And then I lock eyes with this lady. And I said, I think it was your mom. And the lady goes, yeah. And she starts crying a little bit. And then the tutor looks at me and she goes, okay, I want you to give her one name, just one name that would be important to her. And I said, okay, how about Michael? And the lady starts crying even more. She goes, yes, that was my husband, and he passed away a month ago. And then that was it. I ran upstairs and I said, okay, I'm a medium. I can do this. I am a medium. I am a medium. I am a medium. And that was my very first experience where I knew what it felt like to connect to spirit. And I knew that I could do this work. So that was my first one.
Yeah, that's amazing. And can definitely relate to what you're saying about just being on that hamster wheel and, the constant, because that's one of the things that led, my wife and I to sell all of our stuff and, move in and live in an RV full time. Obviously, we're not in the RV right now. I'm in a house, relative's house right now.
Yeah.
But, it is amazing how, and I wasn't in a position where, I felt like I was in this dead end job or anything like that. There's some speaking to me telling me there was more. We were doing amazing work. I was working in a nonprofit organization, helping youth. And, but yet there was still, that still small voice saying there's more, there's another chapter. So that, so I can definitely relate to, to what led you down that journey. What was it that, led you to then writing about this and wanting to write the book about it? Because again, as a fellow author, I'd love to have conversations with other authors as to what that inspiration was and what that writing process is like. So what, after you've been doing this for a while, what made it, say like, hey, let's put this on paper as well.
Yeah. Because I wanted to think about my own journey. And I remember just I wasted so much time in my life. I just think that this journey helped me heal, right? There's a whole thing of mediumship and self-development. I think it goes hand in hand. There's both. It kind of goes together and working on yourself. And I just feel like I wasted so much time because I thought you had to be special, right? Remember, my dad died at 19. So from 19 to 45, I was running, numbing, and hiding, if that makes any sense, from all my traumas. And I just felt so much time wasted. So as I'm helping people and doing this work, I'm like, I wish there would have been something out there that told me earlier that you don't, we're all special. We all have it within us. We all have this amazing ability to connect if we wanted to, right? So not everyone wants to, not everyone's meant to, but if you wanted to, I wanted there to be a resource. And I wanted people to know that I didn't have this perfect life and it wasn't a gift. And I've been a saint all my life either. I want people to know I was human. I felt, I was broken. I had some traumas and I didn't make all the best choices in life. And, and then things led me to this journey to help other people. And I just think I've had those experiences so that I can connect with other people who've had those experiences as well. So it kind of gave me something to have empathy towards other people. And so I think that's what I would say to that question. It's just, I wrote it for the people who are looking for something, right? And I'm hoping if I put it out there, someone will read it and say, ha, I could do this too if I really wanted to. So.
Yeah. Um, it's funny that you say you felt like, um, you had wasted all this time, but I think there's probably a part of you who also understands that it really wasn't wasted time. It was just more lessons that you were gaining before you could get into this position. Because I know there's been times where I've said the only regret that Sandy and I have about making the decision that we made in August of 2020 is that we didn't do it sooner. But the truth is, it actually happened at the exact time that it was supposed to happen. Um, so and I think a lot of times we as humans we want to look back and reflect and look at things that could have or should have changed, without realizing that it really was, all, purposely related. So what was that process like, for you to realize that truly you didn't waste all that time, that it was just part of the process?
And I think writing the book helped me understand that, right? Because when you write the book, you guys say, well, how did I get from that baby to here? How did I become a medium at 45, 46, whatever it was? And how has that made my life's purpose at this chapter in my life? So writing my book, and I called it Soul Lessons, the first chapters, because it's exactly what it was, right? They were my lessons and they were my soul's lessons, and they're the things that I had to learn. And so putting it in writing was very healing to me as well. And then going through my journey of healing too and journaling, I had to go back and be thankful. I wouldn't be here and be doing this unless some of that stuff had happened, right? So now I don't go back and I'm not a victim to it. I find gratitude in everything that's happened to me and how I am reacting to it now, or how I'm changing the energy now, and instead of being a victim of it, I'm trying to turn it around and help other people with what happened. So that was my process. I'm going to take what happened and I'm going to help other people with it. And it makes it feel better. Right. And then
Yeah.
writing the book. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I can relate to that as well, because I think, through the writing process, it really is very cathartic. It's therapeutic, to an exchange. You're digging into emotions that you hadn't, dug into for years. I know many times as I'm writing it, you're sitting there and you're just crying as you're revisiting this time of your life. So it is. I think that is one of the things that we as authors, and when we do write, to allow other people to learn from our life experiences, but it's also a process for us of healing and really understanding why the things happen the way they did and connecting those dots. I oftentimes refer to a Steve Jobs quote where he talks about, when you look back, you can connect the dots, but looking forward, you can't understand, how things are connected as you're looking forward. You can only understand how things are connected when you're looking backwards. So I refer to that quite a bit. And I think that's something that you can probably relate to as well. So, again, through that process and, that whole healing journey and understanding, once the book was then complete and you had it out there and you're like, you're holding that copy in your hand. I know what I felt like that first time. And what was that feeling like for you when you're sitting there, you're holding it, and you're like, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy the emotions you get, right? I was holding it when it first came in the mail. I was like, oh my God, oh my God. We opened it and I just held it. Like my life is here. And a year and a half of emotions and work. And I don't even care if anybody reads it. It was like, it's just that um, seeing a project through to the end and having something tangible from what came from my brain, what came from my life. It's you don't even, yeah, it's hard to even explain the emotions behind it because it's so wow. That's all I can say is it's a wow feeling, right?
Yeah.
And it is connecting the dots. I love the way you say that. And I love that quote too, because I say it all the time. You don't know. And writing a book helps you connect those dots. It helps you because you have to put everything in a logical format when everything feels so scattered. And when you can bring it all in, you're like, huh, that's why that happened. Huh, that's why that happened. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fascinating to me. Yeah, it sounds fascinating.
Um, Now, did you use a publisher or did you self-publish?
I self-published.
Same here. I've actually done both,
Have
but
you?
I will always tell anyone who's looking to go down that road now, just self-publish. It's
Self-published, yeah.
much less hassle. At the end of the day, you're the one promoting it anyway. Publisher is really not gonna, unless you're a huge name who already has an incredible platform.
Million followers and things. Yeah, yeah.
Even that, the publisher is only living off of you know, your reputation. They're not really doing a whole lot for you. So, um,
Yeah.
but again, that was, quite a learning process. So what was that like for you? And why did you decide to go down the independently published, road as opposed to seeking out a publisher?
For those same reasons. So I'm not a big name, right? The money involved, right? And this the control that I can have with it. And so I decided, okay, it's my story. I'm just, and in the spiritual realm, most people will self-publish, unless you're going to go to a Hayes house or something like that. So I just did it, right? I said, okay, I'm going to write my stuff. There's a publisher in the spiritual community who's spiritual themselves. And I decided she'll help me because I don't know the first thing to do, right? Not a big name publisher, but she'll help me format it and do all that stuff. So yeah, that's what I did. And it's okay. The hard part now is the marketing part, the after part, right? How do you get people to read it? How do you get your stuff out there? So I'm learning that part of the process. But it was, could I do it again? Probably. I think it'd be easier this time. But when you're first doing a book, woo, Lordy, it was a year and a half of my life. I'm like, oh my God, I would. So it's interesting you talked about emotions and writing, and because of what I did with my book in the first couple of chapters, I go back and revisit some of my trauma. So for those chapters, you know what I did? I opted to dictate. So we did a whole trans because it was easier for me to talk it,
Hmm.
right? So I talked it, and then we had someone go and then transcribe my talking into words, and then it was easier for me to go back and edit it because you're right, the emotions on just typing that stuff and having to go deep and having to go there, I found it was just easier for me to talk. So learning that process, right? Learning Amazon has been a big deal. So I don't know if you're on Amazon, but woo, Lordy, learning that process, right? It takes it takes its toll on you learning this whole book process. But I think I got it now. I think I'm good now. But yeah, it was definitely a labor of love,
Yeah.
right? To see this thing be born and get out there into the world, for
Yeah,
sure.
no doubt about it. Were you always a writer?
No. But you know what? Uh, I've always wanted to write my story, if that makes any sense. And I was probably in the what fifth or sixth grade. And I remember we had to write little short stories, and my teacher, it's one of those things that come into play, told me, you're going to write a book one day. Whatever. So I remember her saying that, right? And then when I went to that Arthur Findley College in London, I got a reading and about my future as a medium, and they said you're going to write a book one day. I was like, what? Right? No, not me, right? So was I ever? No, but I feel like I was meant to be. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have another idea of one that I want to come out with next. So it's interesting how it's so hard, but you get the bug, right? You get the
Yeah.
bug to do more. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my first book, so I ended up publishing it twice. So it was originally published in 2012. And then I actually decided to add 10 more chapters to it and republished it in 2021 with the 10 additional chapters. And then since we've been traveling, I've published my second book, or again, third, depending on how you count the first one. Is the first one one or two?
Two, yeah, that's true. Well, 10 chapters, that's a book in itself.
Yeah, yeah. And the most recent one is a going to be a series. So this was volume one, and already working on volume two. So it is definitely something. And I've always kind of been like I've written my entire life, short stories, and just when I was a kid, I actually wrote a little newsletter for my brother's soccer team, his adult soccer team, that I would, literally write out on notebook paper by pen, and pass it out at each of his games, and the players and their wives and girlfriends would read it and comment on it and stuff like that. So I've always definitely had the writing bug in my blood for sure.
Yeah.
But it is funny how that first one, when I published in 2012, it was actually a 9-year process.
Was it?
And then realizing that it truly actually wasn't done, and adding those 10 chapters, and republishing it in 2021, it was, almost a 20-year process till you actually get it. And then, that was part of what led us on this journey, is that I was being told to write more and to use that talent more, even though I was changing lives, changing kids' lives with what we were doing in the nonprofit organization. I was at that point being told to do more through my writing. So it's interesting that book one took, 18, 19, 20 years, whatever it was. And then, book two was less than a year to get it done and published. And, again, working on books 3 and 4 right now simultaneously. So it is interesting how that
Hats off to you.
journey gives you.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
so you're saying that there probably will be a second book in the works. Anything on paper yet, or it's still all just up in here swirling around? Yeah.
You'll understand this. You get an idea, and then your second thought is, how am I going to make this 260 pages, right? How do I have this little idea? So how do I expand it? So that's where it's at. It's the idea, because I think it's a pretty cool idea. Really philosophical, right? When you get into this kind of work, you're always thinking about, we have no idea how much is really out there, or we have no idea the capabilities that we have, and we have no idea why we're really here and what really happens, right? So it's so super philosophical. Let me get that out on a Tuesday morning. Philosophical. Yeah, but I have all these ideas, and I want to bring them to life, right? You get a bug. But yeah, it's, how do I make it 268 pages? How do I make it bigger? So that's where I'm at right now. How do I make it bigger? Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you'll work through that process, and it will be an amazing book as well. So
thank you.
So kind of going back to just the mediumship in general, talk a little bit more about that. Like you said, we touched a little bit earlier on the fact that a lot of people, they're reluctant. It's kind of woo woo to them. Someone who is in that space where they'd really like to reach out and connect with a medium, and potentially connect with a loved one who's no longer here, or whatever the case is, whatever reasons they want to seek out going to a medium, but yet they're not sure how to go about that, or if it's right, or if it's of the devil, or all that stuff that comes around that. How do people get through that and just take the leap?
I think that's why so much of us are coming to the forefront now, because we're just trying to spread the word and plant seeds out there, right? And so we'll talk about that in a second, but trust your gut, right? If you see someone, trust it. I don't go to anybody, because I would want people to have a really great experience. So I'd say go to that person's website or their Facebook, look at reviews, go read other people's experiences, go to someone that says they're an evidential medium, because then you'll get evidence, and maybe that will make you feel better. You just have to trust me when I say it's not of the devil, right? That's all I can tell people. You have to just trust me. I'm on TikTok, and some lady had the Bible open where it said, "Thou shalt not go to mediums," and blah, blah, blah. And as she's reading it, how it's against in the Bible, I was reading the paragraph under it, and it said, "Thou shalt not go against my mother or father, or you shall be put to death," is what it really said. So, okay, if you're going to take one excerpt from the Bible, then take them all, right? Right. So I try to give people that, right? There's so much we can pick apart with that. So I would just say, trust your gut, trust the person, right? Trust the feelings you get from someone, check reviews. Are they sincere? Do they have a story, right? Most of us have a story why we're doing this work. Maybe we didn't all believe either until something happened to us, right? We're all kind of cracked people who found some light, right? So that's what I would say, or find someone who's done it and have understand their experience. That's all I can do. But I'm not out here to prove it to anybody, but I would hope that what we're doing is shedding some light out there and drawing more people in.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I think that's the main key is that, for you, it's just allow your light to shine.
Yeah.
And those who are ready to accept it will be ready to accept it. And those who aren't, they've just got to find their own
Their journey.
time.
Yeah.
And I know for humans, that's difficult for us to accept. I mean, that's part of the reason why, we are in such a polarized country right now is because people cannot accept other perspectives. People cannot accept that we're all individuals and we all have, we're all going through this crazy thing called life, trying to make sense of it. But, God created us all with our own free will and our own, individual personalities. It is not a cookie cutter process. And again, for whatever reason, that's tough for us to accept as human beings.
It is. We all have different experiences we're seeing our worldview through, right? It's just so different. That's why
So
self-help journey and healing helps, because it makes you self-reflect, it makes you have empathy for someone else's perspective. So yeah.
yeah, and empathy is definitely something that we're lacking today. So what is your suggestion on a much broader scope, on a world scope, as to how do we find more empathy? How do we find or understand other perspectives and accept them, and realize that there are two different ways to look at things?
Yeah. It all starts with you. And I know it sounds so simple, but you cannot control anything else around you. You cannot control anybody, any person, any place, anything. You really have no control. So I tell everybody it all has to just start with you. And once you can work on you and you change your own views, right? And you heal your own perspectives, right? And figure out why you trigger, why things are so important to you, and really just get down to your own self-development and your own self-healing and your own self. Because it's really interesting. Once you do that, my perspective just kind of kept growing, right? I no longer had this perspective of my own world. It kind of evolved into how am I affecting with the whole world view? What's my little drop in the sand? How is that affecting the bigger picture around me? And I think you just get there through your own healing and self-development and spirituality, even religion, whatever it is you need to do. It all starts with you. And then as you expand, we call it the vibration, right? In my woo-woo world, we all are energy, right? But when we are mad, upset, and jealous and fighting, our vibration goes really low and condensed. And then we're just attracting lower stuff, right? If we go and work within and we work through that stuff and don't allow other people to control our emotions or our experiences, our vibration starts to lighten, right? And we become this beautiful vibration, and hopefully attracting more and spreading that light or vibration to other people. So although we think we're not doing anything by working on us, we really are. We're changing our energy that's expanding to the people next to us, and hopefully that's doing some work as well.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Tracey, what is there anything we didn't cover that you'd like to make the listeners aware of?
Yeah, I think we walk around in a state of non-awareness, right? And I just wanted to point out, if you just work number one on your awareness every day and be present, right? When you're sitting at your office, be present in the moment. What are you staring at? Why are you staring at it? Be present in every day. Our loved ones are around everywhere, and you'd be surprised how they get our attention and how they want to get us to know that they're around. So just pay attention and have an awareness. You know, I have an awareness now to dimes. I see them everywhere. And when I see them, I think of my dad. So it's my little connection to my father. I pick it up and I have a jar over here that I keep all of my little dimes in. And it's like, okay, that's my little gifts from heaven from him. So I would say work on your awareness. If I could tell you anything, that's where I would start. Just be aware of your surroundings, be aware of the signs that they're trying to see. If I wasn't aware, I would have never had the red couch experience, and the red couch experience that led me into this mediumship thing. And it's just because I was aware of a thought. I was aware. And then I followed the breadcrumbs where I follow the dots, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's awesome. What's the significance of the two dimes? Is that something
Just
dad
the
would
dot.
give you as a
So
kid or something, or what's
yeah,
the significance?
I didn't have a dime connection in the living, but I had a crazy dime experience with him. So when I started opening up to this mediumship stuff, and I started, remember I said the self-development part, and I was meditating all the time. And so I had some visions, and this the visions of this I was having, and finally I think having an experience with my dad for the first time in 20 something years. He had passed away. Things were starting to happen. And I remember one time I was going to go do a reading for someone, one of my very first couple of readings I was doing, and I was so nervous and I was so sick to my stomach. And I was having some crazy experiences, but I wasn't sure if that related to this person. And I was crazy, crazy experiences. And then as I was leaving the house, I looked back at my bed, and I don't know why. Why am I looking at my bed? And my bed is perfectly made, pillows, fluffy pillows, everything perfectly made. And right at the center of it is a dime. Don't know where that dime came from. That dime just materialized and showed up in the very middle of my bed. And I was like, and at that point, I knew my dad was around and trying to get me down to go down this path. So I just said, all right, thanks, Dad. And so now I find them right outside the car door, right in places they shouldn't be. So it became me and my dad's thing. Yeah, yeah,
It's very cool. Very
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Tracey, how can people get a hold of you? How can they get a copy of the book? Um,
Yeah.
if they have questions about anything that we've talked about and they want to reach out, where can they find you on the internet?
Yeah, so I'm everywhere. So I'm Facebook, the Red Couch Medium, Instagram under the Red Couch Medium, TikTok under the Red Couch Medium. I have my website, theredcouchmedium.com, where you can purchase a book or you can get one off of Amazon. It's called You Can Be a Medium, How a Red Couch led me to mediumship and turned my pain into purpose. I think everybody would connect with it because it's got a story for all women out there and even men out there. How you can live this certain life, but you can change everything midlife. There's never too late. It's never too late to change your life and change your story. Right? So I'd be happy to talk to anybody out there.
Well, I love that you said it's never too late, because that's something I mentioned to people so many times, because when Sandy and I first, started telling people that we were going to do this, a lot of people would say, so you guys going through a midlife crisis,
Yeah.
what's going on? It's like, no, it's nothing to do with that. And, when you hear people talk about, oh, I'd love to do what you guys are doing, but,
But
you know,
mhm.
someday maybe we'll be able to do that. And then, you know, we're not guaranteed tomorrow. So,
No.
to revisit, we talked about being in the moment and being present. That's
Mhm.
something that, Sandy and I have both learned to be much more aware of. Just being in that moment and understanding that you never know when you're going to hug that person for the last time, or, when you're going to hang up the phone with them for the last time. You have no idea.
I
So,
have no idea. No
but,
idea.
um, we're only as young as we're going to be today. Like, we're never going to be any younger than what we are today. So
No.
just do it. Doesn't matter if you're 40, if you're 50, if you're 60, if you're 20. Just have the guts to go out and do that. So I love that you touched on those 2 points, because a lot of people do think that, oh, I've been doing this for 30 years, it's too late to change. No, it's not.
Like,
No, it's
go have
not.
experiences, go live life. And I think the more spiritual I was becoming and the more connected I was becoming, the less things I wanted and needed.
Yep.
Right. So
Yep.
I don't make big purchases. I make do with what I have. It's not because I don't have the money, but my money's going on experiences because I don't know when my last day on her is. So I want to go experience life. And that's what I do. And that's what I would encourage people to do.
Yeah.
Can't take the stuff
Sounds
with
like
you.
you're ready. You're ready for the RV life right
I
there for
am. I
sure.
guess, yes. My significant other's a teacher. I just got to get him to stop teaching. We're going on the road. Life. I want life. Yes.
Same way, we have kind of a rule in the RV. It's like a one in, one out rule. So if we buy a new shirt, an old shirt's got to go out. If you buy a new pair of pants, an old pair of pants has to go out, whatever the case
Love it.
is. And
Yes.
again, we're so caught up in this, consumerism that the world wants to push on us, and there really is no need for it. I mean, experiences are the way to go. Whether you live full time in an RV or you don't, it's live and experience. And all the crap that we collect. People always asked us, was it difficult when we were downsizing? And I said, unbelievably, it was actually incredibly liberating for us to get rid of this stuff. And, again, stuff that we had sitting around our house for 20 years that, we hadn't used in 18 years. But yet it still sat there collecting dust.
This just doesn't mean anything anymore. It's just like, I think I hurt my mother's feelings because my mother's still alive and she's in 70, and she was going through her stuff. Is there anything you're gonna want? No, there really isn't. I'm trying to get rid of there's nothing, because I don't have emotional attachments to things anymore. And I'm a light being. I don't know how else to explain it. And I know I hurt her feelings, but it's a feeling of not wanting things. You can understand. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And we told our kids, guys, we're doing you a huge favor by getting rid of this stuff now. So that you don't have to when we're gone,
Yes. Yes.
Relatable for sure. So I love that. I could definitely talk to you for hours on end just about different tangents that we could go down. But
yes, I know. Yeah.
We're just about out of time. So that leads me to my my final question, which comes from the opening lyrics of a Michael Franti song, Gloria, which go, when many little people in many little places do many little things and the whole world changes, which is why the subtitle of the podcast is Many Little People in Many Little Places. So what's one of the little things that Tracey does on a daily basis to make the world a little bit better place?
I think that's a great question, because it all starts with us, right? We just talked about that earlier. It all starts with us. So what I'm doing is I'm healing me. I'm doing my part to raise my vibration, and I put my stuff out into the world. I'm on social media every day doing inspirational posts. I'm trying to help heal people. Every single day I am out there trying to plant a seed of hope. My subtitle is Hope, Healing, and Empowerment, because that's what I want to bring to the world, right? So every day I'm trying to give a piece of hope, help someone heal some way, and empower someone some way every single day by showing up and being there. Showing up in the world. Yeah.
I love that. I normally wrap up right after that question, but I want to actually expand on that. When you say you're going out and having trying to increase the vibration and just put that inspirational post out there on social media or whatever. And I think it's funny because sometimes when people are listening, they think that people like us, that like we don't have bad days and stuff like that, and that's not the case. Like, we're still human beings, but we still try to make the best out of whatever bad day we have. So are there days where you're having a crap day, but yet you still put something inspirational out there? Because even if you're having a crap day, maybe you can help somebody else.
Every day. Yes, I do. We all have bad days. There's some days I can't get off the couch, right? But I make sure I make that post, right? I'm trying to spread it, because we're all going to go ups and downs, but we can all be responsible for our attitude about it, right?
That's right. I love it. Trace, this is a great conversation. I really appreciate you being on the show. For folks out there listening, be sure to check out my other podcasts and blogs at journeymymotherson.com or danclouser.com. While you're there, pick up a copy of my most recent book, Journey My Mother's Son, Volume 1. Hop on over to Amazon or go to Tracey's website and pick up a copy of her book. And again, Tracey, I really appreciate the conversation. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. Have a great day.